Hey guys, I just wanted to get on here and talk about what my plans were for this year as far as reading. Got lots of goals. I haven't read hardly anything recent or really at all. First up, Brandon Sanderson. He has a book coming out in November. It's the fourth book in the Stormlight Archive. Really excited about it. I've read the first three. Aside from the Stormlight Archive, I haven't really read any of his other works, so I wanted to read all of the things that are in the Cosmere so that I'll be ready and hopefully pick up some of those Easter eggs that he likes to put into his books. So basically, we're going through one Cosmere book a month, aside from the White Sand books and the Arcanum Unbounded. I'm just going to kind of sprinkle those in as I get free time between now and then. That should prep me with enough time for when Stormlight Archive 4 does come out in November. Next up is I'm gonna be knocking out some of the Wheel of Time series. I have not read any of that. It is one of the major inspirations for Brandon Sanderson's books. He actually helped finish the series. If you don't know, it is largely regarded as a touchstone for the fantasy genre, between classic fantasy of Tolkien to kind of ushering in the more modern era of fantasy writing with Robert Jordan's work. So we're going to be knocking out one book a month until we complete that series. Next up is Vinland Saga. I picked this up as a recommendation from Elliot Brooks. It is a manga series set around Vikings. Has some loose historical, there's Leif Erikson in it. The main character starts out with a big revenge story. I haven't gotten to the point where we finished that. I've only read the first volume so far, but I'm going to continue that, reading one volume a month throughout the year until we finish it. Next up is Stephen King. I knew him from his movies. I haven't really watched a lot of those either, but do want to start going into it. I have a big interest in reading The Dark Tower. I want to read his other books to see how the whole multiverse of his works kind of comes together. Next up is I want to read one self-published book a month. There's a lot of good self-published books out there. I don't really know what they are, but I'm making it a goal to kind of try to discover those, and I've got a couple big hits that I know of that I'm going to start out with and then kind of see where I go from there. Next is historical fiction. I've read a little bit of historical fiction when I was in high school and stuff, but I want to pick it back up. I do enjoy history. I feel like it's a good way to kind of understand what it was like in different time periods. Next is science fiction. I love science fiction. I love watching science fiction shows and movies. And big one is The Expanse. Do have a goal to get to that series this year, but I also want to read some other things such as Dune. I haven't read hardly any. One of my big, I wouldn't say, I don't know if you call it a literary crime, is I've read Ender's Shadow, but I have not read any other Ender's Game novels. It's really weird. Got the gist of the main story, but from the side character, which was interesting. The last type of book that I want to get to this year are the random books that I have on my shelf. Over the last few years, my wife and I have picked up a lot of books that were like, oh, we want to read these. I heard these were really good, and I've never touched them. So I want to finally get around to reading those. They might not necessarily fit into any specific category, but we want to see if they are good, if they are not, but enjoy that journey. I also want to read books that you recommend, so go ahead and put that in the comments if there's a book that you particularly love that you would want me to read. Basically, everything's open because I haven't read a lot in the last 10 years. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.